Greetings, students! Are you ready for some magic? Don't worry, those were just lands, and if you're upset about that still, don't worry, they were just planes. But with nothing much up my sleeve, we are here to talk about what to expect in the next Magic the Gathering set, Strixhaven, a school of wizardry and witchcraft. I have a lot to say on that point and many more as we present the professor's preposterous predictions right after we look at how well I did last time. But first, a quick word about this video. This video may be about Strixhaven predictions, but sometimes Mother Nature goes in a way you hadn't predicted with your own body. So we're going to talk about sponsor of this video, Keeps. You know, we all want control over how we look and present ourselves, of course, whether it's the clothes we wear or the way we part our hair. But what happens if you want to have that hair and Mother Nature says yours is a head that will not retain it? Well, that's where Keeps comes in. Keeps is just an option for you to help control how you want to look, and it is an affordable option. There's only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, and Keeps is the generic version of these so that it is incredibly more affordable than those powerful yet expensive name brands. There you have it, folks, plain and simple. It's the no-name brand medication brought to you with huge savings. Keeps offers you actual doctor consultations. These are done online, which is great so that you can get treated from home. And yeah, again, you're working with licensed doctors here. It's just to get the generic version of the name brands. The medication is delivered right to your door, all of which makes for a safe, secure, and easy process. And again, there is nothing wrong with going bald or being balding or any manner of ways in which we are. You are gorgeous as you are. Hey, look at me. I combed my hair this way to show you I got a little bit of scalp here. Do I care? No, I do not, because I am a sexy being and so are you. But if you want to have that control, if you are ready to take action and prevent hair loss, then you can go to keeps.com/Tolarian or click on the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/Tolarian. Remember, wear yourself like a mink coat, however you want to be. For some of us, Keeps can help us shape ourselves as we choose and save a few bucks along the way. All right, students, settle down. Settle, people. Now, before I go over my predictions for Strixhaven, it is only fair to take a look at my track record. So let us see how right or how wrong I was the last time I made predictions about a Magic the Gathering set. Presto imbarioso! Prediction number 5 from me is actually a prediction about an absence of something that you might expect to see in Zendikar. And that prediction is no Eldrazi whatsoever and no colorless mana. Coming in at number 4 is another prediction about the lack of something, and that is the lack of, well, story. I actually am predicting that we are not going to see much in the way of Magic story. Let's talk mechanics. One of the most popular mechanics of all time was actually in the original Zendikar block, and that is the landfall mechanic. I believe Zendikar full art lands will be coming back. It would be absurd not to have full art lands in every pack of Zendikar. The actual number 1 prediction that I have is not that that spoiler I just mentioned is going to be true, which sadly probably will be, but rather that they're going to try and counter this by creating a new super pushed dual land. Oh, snap! I got 4 out of 5 correct. That's not bad. I suppose the professor's predictions aren't preposterous or pathetic as we thought, but certainly they are full of pee. Let's move on. What do I think we're going to see in Strixhaven? Prediction number 1. I got 2 words for you. Harry Potter. Oh, God, there's so much wrong with this, but before we even get to that, let's start with the biggest question. Will there be a secret lair Harry Potter, which is highly rumored to have, at the very least, been in the works? I don't know whether or not this was scuttled, but I believe very firmly that it was planned. And by planned, I mean they literally got to the point of signing the contract that would forever seal our fate in having Secret Lair Harry Potter, and then maybe, just maybe, at the last minute, realized why that might be a bad idea, and then scuttled it. I sure hope that they did. My prediction is not that we have Secret Lair Harry Potter. My hope is that we do not, but my prediction is that, since I feel very confident we almost, at the very least, had Secret Lair Harry Potter, that Strixhaven is, with no doubt, with no hesitation, an absolute homage, see ripoff, of Harry Potter. We already know there are 5 wizarding houses that are going to be present at this school of wizardry, and I think that we are going to see many, many more very obvious connections to Harry Potter in Strixhaven. No matter how much they try and Magic the Gathering it up, you're going to look at this set and you're going to see Harry Potter. Whether it is in the student wizards and their design, whether it is in those 5 houses and drawing connections to the Harry Potter houses, whether it is simply in ideas such as a Dark Lord who used to be a student at the school that's gone rogue, or some variation on it, I think that this set is just going to absolutely reek of Harry Potter, and I'm not that enthusiastic about that. I've always felt that Magic the Gathering lore and flavor should stand on its own, should not try and just take from other creators, but create itself, and I think it's at its best when it does that. When you look at a set like Dominaria, for example, this is a set that is reveling in all that is Magic the Gathering, and while certainly Magic draws from everything from real-world historical mythologies to real-world, let's say, horror tropes in Innistrad, to absolutely, blatantly just take another fantasy or sci-fi creative work and just kind of dress it up as Magic the Gathering, I feel is both self-limiting and, in all honesty, always a little disappointing to me. And when you combine that with the reality that the creator of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, has put forward transphobic comments and a transphobic philosophy, well, that then gets into something that we don't even want to be associated with at all, and yet might be contractually bound, or, in the case of Strixhaven, thematically linked to. Why am I talking about J.K. Rowling? Well, because if we are honestly going to link one of our Magic sets to Harry Potter, then I think we do have, I don't know if the word is obligation, but we do have reason to be informed about what the creator of this property, who is still living and still propagating these ideas, these hurtful and hateful ideas, has said and done, and who, in a sense, we are supporting, endorsing. I wouldn't, and so it is something to be informed on. And if you are looking to be informed further on this, Natalie Wynn of ContraPoints just did a really excellent video on this very subject. I will link it both in the description and pin it as the top comment. It's something that I would encourage you to check out. So this is definitely a prediction I hope I get wrong, that the connection is just superficial, that of course, if you're going to say, well, let's talk about a wizarding school, people are going to make Harry Potter connections, but that behind the scenes, not only were there no efforts to make a connection or allusion to Harry Potter, but perhaps even an actual sentiment of, no, let's do our own thing, let's make sure we are not borrowing from that other property. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the exact opposite. But again, I really hope I am wrong on prediction number 1. Now, prediction number 2 is one about borrowing again, but in this case, from ourselves. You see, you can't have a school of wizardry without a host of wizards, a host of new characters, and Commander is the hottest format right now. So if we've got all these individuals, not generic cards, but rather individual characters, a huge cast, then I'm predicting we are either going to have an enormous number of legendary characters, or perhaps an enormous number of planeswalkers who can be our commander. It is my prediction that, like we saw in Dominaria, Strixhaven will have a legendary creature in each pack, or perhaps, like we saw in War of the Spark, a planeswalker in each. So I'm going to be blunt. Prediction number 2, there's an optimistic take and a cynical take. Cynical take is this is going to be War of the Spark with 36 planeswalkers, and they can all be your commander, and the optimistic take is this is going to be like Dominaria, where everything under the Sun is legendary, to the very point that we're going to have returning mechanics that deal with legendary permanence. And I'm hoping it's the optimistic take. I'm hoping this is a set where they said, hey, Commander is the hottest thing right now, so let's load this set full of legendary creatures, load it full of legendary artifacts, all kinds of cool things in that regard, and we're just going to make this the Commander player's dream of who they can select as Commander. It's like Commander Legends, I guess 3 at this point, Wizard School edition. I would be a-okay with that, but I certainly hope we're not going to borrow from War of the Spark, because the cynic in me sees it going the other way, where they say, hey, we're going to have a lot of characters, let's make them all planeswalkers. But, you know, Commander is the hot new dish right now, so let's make sure all of those planeswalkers can be your Commander. Wouldn't that be a hot selling item? Wouldn't that get people to crack packs? Probably, but I really did not enjoy what having all of those planeswalkers did to, well, Standard and Modern and Legacy, and I think Vintage too got affected. And if they go the full route that I'm cynically predicting and make all of those planeswalkers playable as your Commander, then let's just mess up Commander too. No. I hope they are drawing from Dominaria. That's the optimistic prediction. The cynical one, War of the Spark, host of planeswalkers. Either way, we're going to see a lot of characters that could be your Commander. Now, prediction number 3 is tied to what we know is returning in Strixhaven. Namely, it has been confirmed that there will be modal dual-faced cards. Yes, that's an awesome new mechanic. I think we're going to probably see that after Strixhaven as well, but we know it's coming back. And like I said at the top of this video, we know that there's going to be 5 wizarding houses or guilds within the school. I was actually going to predict that latter one, and then I looked up what had been revealed about Strixhaven and saw, oh, they are ready. Well, I would have been accused of having made a prediction that was already revealed again. I didn't know that until looking into making this video. So I'm going to take those two things and combine them and say that my prediction is we are going to see the return of tribal matters spells like tribal sorceries or instants or enchantments or other such relations, only it's going to be tied to the houses, and it's going to be on modal cards where you have one house on one side, one house on the other. So this is actually going back to things like Lorwyn, where you would have instants and sorceries that were like, it's a goblin sorcery. And so anytime you cast a goblin spell, you get an effect, and you might cast a sorcery that's a goblin spell or a fairy matters spell. And there are instants and sorceries that might count the number of fairies you have in play, all of that tribal stuff, but instead it's going to be, okay, one side is our equivalent of Slytherin or whatever, and the other side is our equivalent of Gryffindor. And you can choose between the sides when you cast it, which is going to probably have all kinds of really fun things in draft, making the cards much more applicable to a wide variety of strategies. They'll probably design it so that you can still use both effects for a weaker effect, but it's really strong if you've gone and built a Slytherin deck or whatever. Again, I hope I'm wrong about prediction 1, but either way, that's my prediction, that we are going to see modal dual-faced cards with a kind of tribal matters on each side affecting different tribes or houses within Strixhaven. Now, speaking of things returning, it might not just be mechanics, but characters as well. And my prediction for the villain of Strixhaven is actually related to something we saw in Kaldheim, and that was our lone Phyrexian mysteriously on the plane of Kaldheim, Vorinclex. I predict that it will be revealed that the Voldemort-like villain, perhaps, of Strixhaven is actually one of the other Phyrexian praetors. I think we're being set up in the Magic the Gathering story for New Phyrexia to be the next big epic War of the Spark-like showdown. And I think that we're going to see in each set going forward one of the 5 Phyrexian praetors showing up, or perhaps 4 of them, with one of them being the one that we must go defeat on New Phyrexia itself, Elish Norn. I think we're going to see either Sheoldred or Jin-Gitaxias on Strixhaven as the Voldemort-like villain being Sheoldred, I guess, or just it's the school of wizardry knowledge. That's why I'm thinking blue and Jin-Gitaxias. Don't correct me on my pronunciation if you're going to say it's Jin-Gitaxias or something. I don't care. It's a made-up word. Aren't you an English major? Yeah, and that's not an English word. I didn't major in Phyrexian, so you can just let's get on with the prediction. I like that idea that we're on Strixhaven, that we're on another new plane perhaps in the fall, and on each of these, we just see one of the praetors, maybe get a little bit more about what's going on. How is it that they are traveling to other planes? And what does it mean for the multiverse? When is the Gatewatch going to become aware of this and actually make a move to stop them? Or is something more sinister in play? Those are larger story predictions that I'm just throwing in, but I think we're going to see one of the other Phyrexian praetors on Strixhaven for sure. All right, so my next prediction may be a little bit of a cheat, but here's how I came about it. I'm thinking, all right, we're going to see a returning mechanic in Strixhaven. What do we think in terms of learning, in terms of being a student, in terms of studying and progressing from year to year? And I picked two mechanics that I think embody that, so I'm going to double dip here. I get to make up the rules. It's my channel. My prediction for the returning mechanic we may see is either going to be the wonderful level up mechanic that was first introduced in original Zendikar, or the experience mechanic that we saw in a set of Commander Planeswalker decks. Remember cards like Azuri, Claw of Progress, which had whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an experience counter? At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of experience counters you have. I think we could absolutely see something like this in Strixhaven. Perhaps it'll be an experience counter for every time you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Perhaps it'll be for casting a certain type of enchantment or casting your house cards. So if there's a tribal-like card for Slytherin, it'll be anytime you cast a Slytherin spell or whatever they call the Slytherin house, you get an experience counter. And if you have 5 or more, this happens, or every upkeep X happens, what have you. I think we might see that to indicate learning, progress, getting stronger, or my personal preference would be let's just grab level up from original Zendikar. I loved original Zendikar level up cards. My commander decks are full of these, not the least of which is because some of the coolest ones were merfolk. But this is what I'd really love to see, that idea that you invest in a card, that you put effort and resources, time and study as it were, into something and reap a result. A more powerful, developed mage, perhaps. Great mystical powers. It's my bet for the returning mechanic of Strixhaven. But now I want to hear from you. What do you think we're going to see in Strixhaven? What are your predictions for the set? Your hopes, your dreams, your darkest nightmares? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Tolarian or click the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/Tolarian. Thank you very much, Keeps, for sponsoring this video.